Hello and welcome to another episode of Rose Guns Days. It's Thursday yet again. I don't know how. It feels like it was Thursday yesterday. But here we are on like eternal Thursday. I don't know why I said Sunday. Sunday has nothing to do with this. Hello, Kat. How are you doing? I Thursdays aside, um, yeah. Let's just get 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 going. And I wish it was an Eternal Sunday. That seems really chill. I'd get really bored eventually, but you know, it, a few extra Sundays wouldn't hurt. I say this having had to, like, it's a day off today, but still, my point still stands. But yeah, let's dive right in because last episode it was a lot. It was a lot. So recap time. I wrote it all down, but my notes are kind of messy, so I'll do my best. God, I can't read today. This is not a good start. Okay, so the three of the wandering dogs, minus Zell, found the embezzled soy sauce. At the beginning of the last episode, Wayne rewarded them for their efforts with shoulder pats and some money, specifically to buy food for Zell so that she'd feel better because she wasn't feeling well. And then we cut to Zell talking to Xiaolan while in handcuffs, going into an underground jail where she's taken to see her father who's being held prisoner by the GDS. It turns out that she's not Zell. She does not have memory loss. She is actually an assassin who'd been sold from boss to boss and ended up in the hands of the GDS, who are threatening her with her father's safety, essentially. Saying, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we will kill him and we will kill you. And apparently her dad's the only family she has left. So it was a compelling argument. She's been lying about her memory loss the whole time, and her goal is to try to get close to the top people in Primavera. And, well, she succeeded. They do let her go after seeing her father. Apparently the deal is they're allowed to have dinner together once a month. Out of, like, the kindness of GDS's hearts, you know, they kind of lord it over her. Being like, oh, well, aren't we nice? We let you see him once a month, as if that's, you know, as if they're not actively threatening them both. So that's fun. Meanwhile, Tomitaka, Richard, and Cyrus discuss what to do with the president who betrayed them, you know, the one who embezzled the soy sauce. And they conclude that people respect Primavera. They don't fear them. They fear the GDS more, which isn't going to go well for them because they have this other organization who is scarier. So when it comes down to threats, whose threats are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the threats of the scarier party. Even if especially if the other party is not threatening you at all. You know, people are going to just bend to the will of the GDS. So their goal now is to make Primavera scarier, which can only go well. I'm sure that can only go well and will not lead us into any trouble at all. Yeah, of course. They don't make any concrete plans yet, but they do tell their underlings to start preparing for an incident. I hope you can hear the air quotes there. It's that is word for word what is said, but what does that mean? How's that going to turn out? We don't know. Also, meanwhile, Wang and Meiju meet, and Wang shares that his plan is to mess with Primavera through embezzling the soy sauce, which We already knew, but Meiju didn't. Meiju, however, doesn't seem to think that it'll work. I think potentially because he has a lot of faith in Rose that she'll figure it out or find some other way that, like, you know, that it won't hit them as hard as Wong seems to expect. I guess we'll have to see if he's right or not. Then the wandering dogs reunite with Zell, who returns home after they've been looking for her for hours. So that's kind of suspicious. She's obviously upset because she just saw her dad, which they don't know about. And hiding something serious, which is obvious to them, but they don't know what she's hiding. She promises that she'll go back to normal by the next day, and the others have, well, no choice but to wait for her to open up, if ever. They do say, which is really sweet, they do offer to listen to her when she's ready, you know? But she's not allowed to actually tell anyone, because then, you know, her dad's going to get killed. So, it's a difficult situation to be in. Like, I fully understand why she's doing the things that she's doing. I don't like it, but I get it. Alright, so in the light of all that, took a while for it to show up, damn. Here's our content warning reminder for Rose Guns Days. In this game, there is, or story rather. No wait, there's gameplay. It's a game. There is violence, gun violence, racism, sexual content including references to assault, and human trafficking. I forgot to add that one. There is also misogyny, alcohol abuse, characters dealing with trauma, depression, other mental health issues. I don't know what's going to happen in this episode because I have not read this story before, but I do add more specific warnings if they're necessary in the description on YouTube. I'm a little behind on the YouTube uploads. I will get to it. This weekend, I promise. So go there if you want more specific content warnings. Okay. There's the preamble done. In record time, I think. I need to turn my volume down a lot. Yeah, the game it's a loud game. It's not a bad thing, but it's like, it's quite old, the game, but it's loud in the way that modern games are loud. Where it's like, you start it up for the first time, first thing you have to do is turn the volume down to like 60%. The guy with the shadows for eyes, same. There's something really sinister about him. It's like he's some sort of like cryptid or, you know, something you find in a horror game. Like a kind of Slenderman type deal. I don't know, it's creepy. They should have given him a hat. Just put a hat on this dude, you know, and it's fine. I don't think this qualifies as a horror game, but I think it's a thriller more like. Although it's not super constant either, so like the tension, you know. More that there are parts that are thrilling. But with this guy around, it may as well be a horror game. Anyway.
I'll take a big serving, miss. So delicious. I could eat this all day. Yep, you can't be Japanese without this taste.
Real soy sauce really does taste and smell completely different, doesn't it? All our customers are overjoyed. If it were just a bit cheaper, there'd be nothing to complain about.
Soy sauce and potatoes, a match made in heaven.
Yeah. With everyone poorer now after the war, it's pretty tough to have the price be double what it was.
Well, our apologies on that matter. However, We've been promised that the price will be revised bit by bit going forward. I hear that news of this soy sauce fever has reached the ears of the workers in Chiba. Sounds like they're all rejoicing. I've heard that some people are starting to come out in favor of moving from a small-scale luxury output into mass production, with lower profits but far more sales. That's incredible, Rose!
That's the wrong voice. That came out completely different than I anticipated. I spooked myself there. And to be fair, yeah, I mean, Claudia made nothing but potatoes for a while there, so... Maybe it was because of the soy sauce shortage that she just had no other choice. All they had was potatoes.
That's incredible, Rose. We might really be able to get our soy sauce back.
Ah, there he is. There he is, the creep. Never know when we'll run out of soy sauce again. Gotta eat while we still can. You're Japanese, you just gotta have soy sauce. The taste, the smell. Can't up my horsepower without this stuff. Hey, why don't you get up quick and open a seat? You realize how long I've been waiting here? Hey, don't push. You'll be sorry if you make me spill my soup.
There's plenty of soy sauce left. Please don't fight, and enjoy your friendly meal. I'm sorry, everyone, but soy sauce stocks around here are going to get bigger and bigger going forward. The more soy sauce you all buy, the more it will get distributed. I ask that you all help support soy sauce. We're counting on you.
Hey, is that Madame Rose? It's Madame Rose! Oh! Since she had few guards with her and it was dinner time, no one had realized she was there. However, once the first person spotted her, it was a whole different story. Men across the restaurant excitedly rose to their feet. It was like a popular rock star had been sitting among them. Madame Rose! Our goddess! Banzai! Banzai! The savior who raised our wages. Thanks for getting our soy sauce back. Please do miso and mirin next. Rice and mochis. I want to eat udon and soba too. But the price is too high. If you don't get it a bit cheaper, I won't be able to eat it every day.
I'm really sorry about the price, but I'll do all I can to make it cheaper. The more you all use soy sauce, like you're doing now, the cheaper we'll be able to get it. Let's all protect our food culture together.
When Rose finished boldly saying her piece, the restaurant was filled with applause and whistles. When the excited customers rushed forwards towards Rose, trying to shake her hand, they got into a pushing match with her guards. Madam, your car has arrived.
It's time for Rose to go to work. Everyone, please give her room to move.
After somehow managing to split the excited crowd, Rose's group left. All the group that's not what that says. All the people forgot about eating and sent Rose off with 3 cheers. Outside, a line of luxury cars was already waiting for them.
We're rooting for you, Rose. Sorry to barge in on you like that today. Was it a burden? Not at all. I'd like you to drop by whenever you feel like it. We'll welcome you with open arms. As for the soy sauce, I'm counting on you. Whether we get distribution up or not, depends on the customers. Of course, I'll help out, so please make it cheaper and cheaper.
This way, madam.
Bye then, Claudia. Thanks so much, everyone.
Madame Rose! Banzai! 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 Even after Rose got into the car and closed the door, the cheering continued. The car started up, and Rose continued to wave at them until they disappeared from the car window. Well, at least some people are having a good time. Were you able to get a good sense of the public's attitude?
Yeah. I could feel how food culture equals a people's confidence.
When the Americans and Chinese scattered food from their countries around for free, it was nothing more or less than an assault on our food culture. When food culture is lost, a people loses a big part of their identity. To be honest, I used to think that this soy sauce business was foolish, but...
Have you been convinced?
Indeed. A man's narrow field of vision couldn't even conceive of such a thing. The support of the city folk makes for a powerful tailwind. I must apologize for doubting you.
They say that women have to grab 3 bags, right? With wage increases, they grab them by the bag of their wallets. With soy sauce, they grab them by the bag of their stomachs.
What does it mean? Never heard anyone say that. And the third bag was Primavera's greatest specialty, was it not?
Don't say that.
You can't just go on the internet and say that. Well, it's Primavera's specialty, so you're not far off. Unless they mean booze, which is also their specialty, I think. Rose was in high spirits. After hearing the passionate voices of the city folk, she could probably feel a favorable wind at her back. However, if they didn't show the townspeople another legendary night, Primavera would be treated like a mere charitable organization. Because of that, some people would fear the GDS and crack easily. They had to make it clear that Primavera was a violent organization, no stronger or weaker than the GDS. We haven't seen Stella and Marilyn in a while, I feel like. They were around for a hot second last time, but they've been kind of in the background. And I kind of miss them, but I don't miss having to do the Meryl voice, though. It would only be possible to carry out Rose's ideals if they preserve their position as conquerors of the underworld, earning both fear and respect. Just once, for the time being, they needed to convince the city folk that Primavera was a massive, violent organization. Richard had been worrying over the right timing to discuss this with Rose. However, perhaps today's talk would be a perfect opportunity.
Still, I'm glad Meiju sounds safe.
Though I am a bit worried about this person he supposedly wants to introduce us to. That did not come out right, but you got what I was saying. After being completely unable to contact Lee Meiju, he had suddenly contacted them. Judging by his behavior during the feud with Caleb, Meiju tended to break contact when it was inconvenient for him. Since word had suddenly come from him, it probably meant that, while it was sudden for Primavera, Meiju's side had just finished preparing for something.
What on earth could it be? I wonder if a high-ranking member of City 22's GDS is coming to negotiate for the special offers windows.
I see. A reasonable supposition.
For a deal regarding the special offers windows, a considerable supply of money would have to change hands. True enough, it wouldn't be strange for someone even bigger than Meiju to come from City 22, the main base of the GDS, but the GDS had been behind the recent embezzlement case. If they decided to enter negotiations for the special offers windows, they would have sent orders to City 23 telling their men to refrain from such actions.
In any event, we'd better not let our guards down.
They had been invited to an expensive restaurant in City 22's pleasure district. City 22 was run by the Chinese military. The whole city was a massive Chinatown. Small Rock Chinatown in City 23 felt like nothing more than a Chinese town in Japan, but this was a whole different story. Though they had only crossed between cities, this was clearly a foreign country, China itself. The restaurant was in a dazzling building that looked like a Chinese-themed fashion mall. And there was a red carpet laid out in front of the entrance, and there stood a line of GDS guards, Meiju, and the man who seemed to be an executive, slightly older than middle-aged. When Rose and Richard got out of the car, the man held out a hand with a big smile. They immediately understood that this was today's key person. I forgot his voice again, so I'm just gonna wing it.
Wow, such a lovely lady.
How cruel, little May, not to introduce me to such a beautiful woman. Is he not introducing you now? What?
It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Rose Haibara.
And I'm Wang Yuanho. It's such an honor to meet you, Madam Rose. I hear you've been taking good care of our little May. You have my thanks. Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Your Japanese is excellent. I must say I'm impressed.
My honored brother is quite a hard worker. He's mastered several languages in addition to Japanese.
After all, the number of languages you speak becomes your business power. English and Chinese are a given, but you must also learn the language of many other countries.
My apologies for not studying Chinese harder.
Oh, that's just fine. The Chinese language is a profound one after all. But I'm sure one as clever as you could master it in no time. Right, little May?
After all, my honored brother is extremely talented when it comes to teaching things to young ladies.
This guy.
Allow me to introduce this man. This is Richard Mayogi-kun, who serves as my advisor.
I forgot that Richard knows Chinese. They're having a discussion. I don't know any of this. We're kind of getting Rose's perspective here, where she doesn't know what they're saying. His flippant attitude made him seem like a mere energetic leader. Fletcher, That did not say leader. However, Richard already knew that this was the man who had caused the massive soy sauce embezzlement incident by buying off the distributors. His caution might have shown in his eyes. Wang offered to shake Richard's hand in an entirely different with an entirely different warmth than what he'd shown Rose.
A pleasure. I've heard rumors that you're Madame Rose's famous counselor.
The pleasure is mine. It was an honor to hear that you were the superior of Meiju-san, a man I respect. The two crossing gazes were razor sharp. Both seemed certain that the other was the other side's key person. Richard was convinced that this man was a cunning tactician. Juan was convinced that Rose was a symbolic leader, with Richard being the practical leader.
Well then, please come in, Madame Rose. This shop is my castle, which I'm quite proud of. I'm so glad I got to invite you here.
After taking Rose's hand, Wang led everyone inside the majestic double doors. In the entrance, which was decorated in a distinctly Chinese manner, there were several gorgeously ornamented clocks on display. It left an impression far greater than one would expect from the entrance to a restaurant, feeling more like a small but dignified museum.
But, wait, that looked really familiar, hold on. That clock looked really familiar. That looked like the Umineko clock.
That's probably not a coincidence, right? I might be remembering wrong, however, that looked very similar. Every time there's an Umineko reference, I just get really excited. I mean, I do know why, because Umineko's great, but yeah. It didn't have hands, that's true. The Umineko one definitely did, because, you know, the hands were relevant to the plot. Yeah, no, I definitely did. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's the same clock and they stuck the hands on later for Umineko. I'll check it out. I'll check later if it's the same. I have to know.
Amazing. Is this your collection, Wang-san?
Well, I love clocks. For some reason, that distinctive sound ticking the seconds away has always held my heart captive.
An intriguing hobby. Not only are these all gorgeous, but they're splendid rarities overflowing with history. Oh, yeah, was it hands? I vaguely remember there being hands, but yeah, I'll definitely check after. The ticking of time has no relation to one's rank. It ticks the same for nobles and commoners.
If you put it that way, clocks are proof that all people are equal.
That's not what Rose moved, but Richard talked. That threw me off. If you put it that way, clocks are proof that all people are equal.
And that is something I find somewhat frustrating.
Frustrating.
Regardless of whether one studies hard and works hard, or does nothing and is satisfied with laziness. Time passes the same for us all, does it not? I'm not satisfied with that. When someone works hard and achieves something great, shouldn't they be given more time? How ignorant God must be, to not understand the difference between lazy fools and hard workers, and to hand out time to everyone with inflexible rules. So, my hobby of collecting clocks is a minor act of rebellion against God.
Holy shit. Imagine you meet a person and it's like, and you're like, oh, nice clock collection, and then they go, yes, this is my rebellion against God. That's wild. I would leave. I would just leave at that point. I know they don't really have the luxury to, but I wouldn't want to. I don't know, that's scary. That is way too intense.
A man like me, who has worked twice as hard as the average person, should have the right to buy time with the money he saved up as a result of his efforts. You see?
But isn't the money the reward for your efforts already? Why should you get two rewards? Plus, you can literally like pay people to do things for you, and that buys you time. So this is flawed from the beginning. Offered to buy a clock as a rebellion against their rebellion. Yeah, Rose, I wouldn't know what to say to that either.
If money could buy time. A romantic notion.
Dude, money can buy time. It can. It literally can. A person who can't afford a car is going to spend way more like travel time than a person who can afford a car, for instance. Like you can buy all these like things that make it convenient, that make things more convenient and quicker. Like, I mean, that's more the case now than it would have been back then, of course, because we have way more technology. But still, you can pay someone else to do a thing for you. You can, you know, they're always driving around in cars. If they had to walk everywhere, that would take way more time. They've already bought time. Unbelievable. That's true, he's a servant. He literally has like, was it a maid? Does that not, like he has a nanny for the kid, right? That buys you time. What are you talking about? Anyway. These people don't know how good they have it. Anyway, that was a bit of an aside from me, but moving on. Yeah, seriously. Problems of it's just privilege talking. Honored brother, if you don't put your love of clocks aside for a bit, you won't be able to show off your favorite device.
Oh no, that's not good at all. Look at the time.
There's time everywhere, so that'll be easy.
That's enough talk of clocks for now. Please come inside.
Wang looked at a clock, then led the group into the main hall. The clock was just about to show 7 p.m. The massive, well-hall-style entrance hall was decorated with elegant ornaments and lit with a refined, dim glow. A grand piano for live performances made the room look even fancier. This was a high-class restaurant, available only to special members that were acknowledged as ladies and gentlemen. All of the small number of guests wore expensive suits and had the feel of executives about them. This was Wang's prized restaurant, also his castle. He guided them to a table that had been prepared for Rose's group, but for some reason, he didn't invite them to sit down. He beckoned with a mischievous smile. What is it? Wang stood in front of him, an extravagantly decorated cabinet. with 2 doors opening from the center. It had a large, ostentatious keyhole in the middle, but it didn't look like a safe. It felt more like a treasure box to hold a prized possession.
As you can see, this is one of my treasure boxes. It holds alcohol from across the world. The sword just perfect for dinner on a splendid day.
And is that the key to this alcohol treasure box?
In his pocket, Wang pulled a key wrapped in silk cloth. It was a gold key with a luxurious design, fitting for a key to a treasure box. It also kind of looks like a crunchy JPEG, but He handed the key to Rose with a wink.
Why don't you try opening it? Use the key.
Are you sure?
Rose took the key and nervously put it in the keyhole. However, no matter which way she turned it, it didn't budge. She couldn't imagine that it was the wrong key, and she couldn't imagine that there was any other way to open it. With a puzzled expression, Rose gave up and shrugged. At that moment, a loud sound. No. Music. No. Surely this was musical. Surely this was the musical performance of a clock. They missed a word there when they were translating, so it was hard to read. The clocks on display throughout the restaurant pointed their hour and minute hands straight up and began playing music to announce the hour. Several sounds and bits of music mixed together, so you couldn't pick out any single one, but it was impressive in a way that was hard to describe. Rosa, try using the key once more. Huh? Again?
Quickly now, before the clocks finish their chorus.
Confused, Rose put the key in the keyhole one more time, and turned it. As she did, it spun with unbelievable ease, and she felt a light resistance as the lock was unlocked. A mechanism that only works during a certain time. That sounds familiar. It's also clock-based. Sounds familiar again. Except, well, there's no, there's no spoilers for Rumineko here, so it's different.
It's unlocked.
Oh, no, this is odd.
Interesting, isn't it? It's my honored brother's favorite device.
It's my belief that the contents of a treasure box shine more the harder it is to open. But on the other hand, if it's really difficult to open, there's no point.
I see. So there's a limit on the times during which it can be opened.
Oh, so you can only open it while the clocks are chiming?
Well spotted. In other words, even I, the person holding the key, cannot open it when I want to, unless it's the right time. I think this is probably the same spark that makes the girls at a Club Primavera shine so brightly.
What does that mean? Oh, okay, thank you for translating. You can't see them all the time. The frustration of not being able to see them when you want to.
Yes. Man is a lewd animal. If they could see those women all the time, they would lose their charm.
The thought of lovers only being able to meet in secret for a limited time sounds romantic.
Okay, that's enough showing off my devices. Now let's move move to showing off the important thing, what's inside. Come now, Madame Rose. From which bottle shall we partake? My first service to my guests is always to let them choose.
Behind the open doors were choice liquors from around the world. When Rose showed interest in one, Wang would happily relate deep stories involving that bottle. This continued until Rose finished selecting bottles and tasting them. There might be some distilled from soy sauce. I think, if I recall correctly, that is a thing.
To continue ties of friendship between the GDS and Primavera.
To our prosperity and expansion.
Cheers.
They all clinked their glasses together and were welcomed by applauding waiters and a piano performance. Then, amidst a peaceful atmosphere, the curtain rose on Primavera's meal with the GDS. I hear Madame Rose is quite passionate about soy sauce circulation these days. The tradition of Japanese-style soy sauce started with Hishio in China in the 5th century by the Western calendar, and was later developed into a uniquely Japanese product.
Even the drops of the Japanese soul can be traced back to Chinese culture. Japanese-style soy sauce and Chinese-style soy sauce ought to be on good terms.
Our chefs have exercised their talents today, using the roots of Japanese soy sauce as a theme. I hope that you enjoy it. When Meiju clapped his hands, beautiful women in lovely china dresses brought the food out. This wasn't Meiju's style, and was probably a safe bet that Wan was behind this presentation. Captivated by the girl's butts, Wang rose his glass happily.
To Chinese-Japanese friendship. China and Japan are brothers after all. We ought to get along.
I can't roll my eyes with this avatar. Not easily anyway, so I just rolled my whole body. It's Sino, right? We went over this, right? I forgot to look that up in between the episode. Is it Sino? I cannot fucking remember, I'm so sorry. It doesn't look like it would be Sino, though. That sounds fucking weird to me, so I'm just gonna, yeah. We've been trips me up every time because I've yet to hear someone say it in real life.
The Chinese certainly don't despise the Japanese anymore. The Second Sino-Japanese War was nothing more than a fight between brothers. On the contrary, the Chinese army came here to protect the Japanese islands from the Americans, who despise Asians.
I think we can both prosper while respecting each other's culture.
Indeed we can. China is a broad-minded country. We're the only large country who gave profit to neighboring nations, even to the point of starving ourselves, as long as they paid us respect.
Excuse me, there was a loud motorcycle that rode by, so I wanted to wait until it was gone. Are you referring to Imperial Chinese tribute? Yeah, you couldn't hear it because I didn't say anything, because that would have opened the noise gate, so... So I covered it up. Nice. As intended. In Japan, they also call it envoy to the Sui and envoy to the Tang. Old China received tribute from the neighboring countries. The word tribute brings to mind the vision of a large country striking fear into the smaller surrounding countries and forcing them to pay tribute. However, successive Chinese emperors who received tribute displayed their majesty and virtue by giving gifts even more valuable than what they had received. In other words, with this tribute system, there were fewer things given as tribute than there were rewards given in return. So, ancient Japan wanted to abide by this tribute so much that they loaded up as much tribute as they could muster and crossed the rough sea of Japan at all costs. To Japan, which wanted to learn culture from a major cultural powerhouse, this was a very valuable opportunity. On the receiving side, the Chinese always gave back more than they were offered, and the financial burden was no minor matter. However, they were so determined not to refuse the respect for China that was being shown them that they returned more than they were given, even if it hurt them. That burden ended up being considerable. And later on, even though China was the one receiving tribute, they actually restricted it themselves in a strange turn of affairs. That tribute can be viewed as one example of the Chinese historically choosing name over substance. However, the Japanese were the exact opposite, choosing substance over name. Old Japanese history books refer to this tribute as trade. They never wrote that messengers to the Sui and Tang dynasties displayed respect for Chinese emperors and paid tribute. There are even some history books left which write that the Japanese sold off those gifts, which were a result of the emperor choosing name over substance, right on the spot. They say the Japanese used that money to buy up advanced techniques and culture before returning home with full ships. They took treasures that were given to them in exchange for respect and sold them off for practical uses. That was Japanese-style trade, choosing substance over name. The ancient Japanese treated this as a fair deal made with the Chinese dynasty and wrote that the Chinese emperor had acknowledged them as equals. This didn't amuse the Chinese, who had abandoned substance for name. China had given those gifts in exchange for respect, but the Japanese were claiming that this was a deal agreed to by two equal parties. The countless differences between Chinese and Japanese understandings of history go all the way back to the era of Himiko, when tribute was taking place. There's a car alarm going. It's you can tell that it's spring now because lots more noise outside because people aren't indoors suffering, well, avoiding the cold anymore. As a side note, at this time, the GHQ was compiling material for Japanese history textbooks, intending to correct them. Our people take respect very seriously. Madame Rose shows a lot of respect for the GDS.
Of course. I always look up to you, as another organization working to protect its countrymen. I'm sure we can coexist as good neighbors.
Huh? Mung's talking. This is kind of rude to do that when there's like only one person at the table who can't understand. Whoops. How rude of me. I forgot you spoke Chinese, Richard-kun. That was just a joke. A slip of the tongue. Forgive me. Oops, he actually totally forgot that Richard can understand them. What they actually said wasn't clear. But going by appearances, Wang had probably said something sarcastic. Richard heard it. Wang seemed to be affable, but of course, that probably wasn't all there was to it. After a brief, uncomfortable silence, this farce of a meal ended, and they finally moved on to the main topic.
I invited you here today for a clear reason. I wanted to confirm the ties of friendship between the GDS and Primavera. I ask that you remember the war from 1 year ago. When you rose up against Father Caleb, I believe the GDS gave you support for free.
We're deeply grateful for that.
Ever since then, we have believed that the GDS and Primavera were in a friendly relationship. However, recently, there has been a lot of trouble due to that Japanese labor union. I believe we offered you the chance to adjust the situation beforehand. Unfortunately, our aims were not understood, and we were forced into an undesirable resolution. You mean Little Song? Well, there was a little misunderstanding about that case.
Misunderstanding?
We proposed joint management of public order around the employment agency, a proposal which you refused repeatedly. As a result, there were repeated cases of Chinese men having jobs forcibly stolen from them by violent Japanese men in front of the employment agency. That's the first I've heard.
That's not what Richard should sound like. That's just my normal voice.
That's the first I've heard of this. Please don't play dumb. So, after being roughed up by the Japanese, they came crying to Little Song. Little Song's a nice guy. He's the sort who couldn't bear to leave them to suffer.
The backdoor employment agency incident happened because Primavera refused to allow joint management around the employment agency. That was Wang's claim.
Anyway, we've continued to suffer greatly because of you. The Council of Elders is even proposing ridiculous things like saying we should declare war on Primavera to break out of the situation. I think that's nonsense. There's nothing to gain from fighting Primavera.
We agree with that. We have nothing to gain from fighting the GDS.
Still, you're the ones actually attacking us, aren't you?
It's not like we ever intended to.
We've suffered greatly because of your influence. The laborers are clamoring for the same wages as Primavera, and City 2022 is turning to Swiss cheese from the uproar. All over the place, we have laborer boycotts, sabotage, demonstrations, violence, and thefts taking place. The financial loss caused by that has been immense.
Okay, so pay your people more though. That seems easily resolved. It was quiet in City 23, the eye of the storm, so Primavera probably found this hard to imagine. However, massive disturbances were being stirred up in the surrounding cities. Since Primavera had planned ahead for the GHQ and gained their protection, hardly any of this was reported on, but riots were breaking out all over the place. However, those riots had started when laborers noticed the thievery by the special offers windows holders and raised their voices in anger. Primavera felt it could question why they should be held responsible for those riots, but
to the GDS, which is responsible for maintaining public order in City 22, there could be no greater breach of trust. If trust in us wavers, the hearts of the people will be thrown into chaos. Several incidents caused by this have already been reported to us. This is all your responsibility.
but you guys are like, responsible? You just said that you're responsible to maintain the peace. So how come it's someone else's responsibility when the peace isn't maintained all of a sudden? Dude needs to go back to the planning phase, because this is, he's just making it up as he goes.
We'll be forced to demand compensation for this loss.
Oh.
So you claim to bear no responsibility for this at all? Nope. Responsibility is all yours. And now, it's the GDS's duty to protect Chinatown's peace from Primavera's attack. At this rate, there'll be war. A war that neither side will want. A war that neither side wants will break out. What a tragedy.
Mung displayed his grief as though he was acting in an opera or something. It was hard to tell how much of what this man said was serious, how much was a joke. What I want to make absolutely clear is that my honored brother didn't come here as a messenger bearing a declaration of war. He's only here as a messenger of peace. He's not very good at it, though.
That's right. I came as a hero of peace to make friendship between Chinese and Japanese a reality. At this rate, there will be war. But in times like these, as the Japanese saying goes, rain strengthens the ground. To avoid war on both sides, we should display our friendship and get along. At least, that's my theory.
I'm all for that. We realize that the wage differential is putting a lot of pressure on the GDS. That's why we discussed a deal for the special offers windows with Major-san.
Oh, you mean that Chinese labor union you proposed?
If you establish a union for your countrymen and raise their wages, I believe the issue will be resolved.
That's certainly true for City 23's Chinatown. But that won't save City 22's Chinatown. If Chinese people from City 22 rush into City 23's Chinatown looking for jobs, we'll just get a repeat of the old employment agency problem. In other words, with this Chinese labor union you propose, only some of the Chinese will be saved, and in the end, everyone will grow more dissatisfied.
Like they are now? I don't get the reasoning behind that. I mean, I know that the elder, like the council for the GDS doesn't, you know, the old folks don't want to open their wallets and pay people more, I believe was their issue with all of this. But, I mean, the problem is that people are poor and struggling. You can't fix that without paying people more, really. I don't know. It doesn't seem... Anyway.
You sure this isn't a trap to create unrest in Chinatown? You see, we might suspect something of the sort.
That's not why we proposed it.
Primavera had been negotiating with Meiji as the leader of City 23's Chinatown. However, from the GDS's perspective, both City 22's and City 23's Chinatowns were their turf. They couldn't possibly afford to treat their countrymen in City 23 well, while offering low wages on their countrymen in City 22. So then just pay everyone well. I mean, that's a skill issue on your part. In the past, when Meiju had shown interest in a deal for Primavera special offers windows, he had been aware that it would create a wage difference between City 22 and City 23. However, he had assumed that improving City 23 wages would create pressure to raise wages in City 22 as well, which is already happening right now, though. hence the riots. So he wasn't wrong about that. Thinking of this as a card to use against the Council of Elders, who control the City 22 Special Offers windows. He had maneuvered behind the scenes with the young lord, but the Council of Elders made the first move, sent Wang in.
The Japanese labor union is saving all the Japanese in Primavera's turf. However, the Chinese labor union you propose couldn't save all the Chinese in the GDS's turf. Yeah, again, skill issue.
Why are you blaming someone in City 23's... No, why are you blaming your issues in City 22 on a group in City 23? Like, they have no influence there. This is a wild, bold strategy. I don't know how this is even gonna work, because you could just argue like, oh well, we're not there, so it doesn't affect, like, it's none of our business.
See? It's unfair, right? Isn't it? Right?
Yeah, you gotta keep all the people down. You gotta make sure that everyone's lives suck, so that it's fair. I see now. To be fair, this is like what, you know, a lot of, that is the actual reasoning of a lot of, companies and stuff today. It's not unheard of that it works this way, yeah. Frogs in a bucket. It's also like the crab problem, I believe, like the crabs in a bucket problem, where they'll pull each other down to stay in the bucket so none of them escape, that kind of thing. Which, if I recall correctly, is not how crabs in a bucket function. But, yeah. But yeah, no, it's unfair. Ugh.
How strange, how strange. It's not fair.
He was a very difficult man for Rose to deal with. Even though this was supposed to be a serious contest, he made it seem like he was a flippant drunk playing around. Richard, intent on not getting sucked into his opponent's ring, spoke a bit more sharply than before.
Forgive me, but I believe we're straying slightly from the point. Oh, you think so? I sure wish you'd point out what you mean.
We have done nothing but obtain the City 23 special offers windows and, within the scope of that privilege, return those profits to our countrymen. However, out of a concern that this would affect the Chinese living in the same city, we have made this proposal. The topic of this discussion is the City 23 special offers windows. We are in no position to comment on the City 22 special offers windows. We do this out of respect for those who hold the City 22 special offers windows. Richard can... Oh. Forgive my rudeness.
To be frank, I believe the special offers windows are something that ought not exist in the first place. They do nothing more than swindle money for wages that should have gone to laborers. But on the other hand, we can't ignore the fact that they've supplied large amounts of funds, which were used to stabilize organizations for the protection of one's countrymen. With that money, the GDS gained power. And if its work has served to repay all its countrymen, then I can't easily claim that the special offers windows are evil. However, at the moment, both we and the GDS have firmly solidified our bases. Don't you think it's about time for the special offers windows to finish serving their purpose?
Isn't that just Primavera's opinion? You're free to follow that ideal when it's within the scope of the special offers windows you hold. But such brazen interventionism to try and force those views on the GDS as well. You realize it's fair game to interpret that as an attack, don't you? Anyway, no matter what Primavera's intent may be, your policy of high wages is, in effect, an attack against the GDS.
We don't want to pay high wages. Yeah. That's basically all you're saying there. Oh, it's for our countrymen. Blah. Except it's clearly not.
If you intend to continue on this path after having this explained to you, the GDS will be forced to read this as you waging economic war on us.
Rosa. An attack isn't determined by the one initiating it. It begins from the claims of the one receiving it. I'm fully aware that you are a lady worthy of respect, with a beautiful heart. However, regardless of what your intentions are, there are some things that people will interpret as attacks. I ask that you remember this.
Smooth.
She wants to release them back to sea. Oh, the crabs, you mean? Yeah. Not the frogs, okay.
Yep. I think it's just as Little May said. There was no malice on Primavera's side. They were just all for innocently improving the lives of their countrymen.
And yours too, though.
After looking into Madame Rose's eyes, I'm sure of it. Primavera has no intention of waging war.
Neither does he, though. He just wants to bring them down through, like, all kinds of other fishy means. But I'm worried. He's gonna flip it around so that he seems harmless, and then it's gonna end up being they're gonna end up in a war anyway, I bet. Wang, whose words had been sharply critical until now, suddenly switched to a warm expression. Rose and Richard couldn't help but be bewildered by the sudden change in temperature.
Madame Rose really was a benevolent person. Those short-tempered elders on the council just had a slight misunderstanding. You're a splendid lady, and a splendid new leader who can guide the Japanese into the future.
Wang rose to his feet and began to speak with even more dramatic gestures. He was like an opera singer speaking eloquently on the stage. And then, he walked up to Rose and suddenly grabbed her hands as though inviting her to dance.
I believe we can solve this misunderstanding and make up. For that cause, let's walk together. Like this, hand in hand.
I don't trust him.
Yes, I think that sounds wonderful.
When people walk together, it means they care about and respect each other. If we let them see us walking together, then I'm sure even the Council of Elders will become Primavera's allies in a flash.
What is this man doing? What is he doing? Last episode he was all like, oh, I'm gonna bring them down. I'm gonna ruin them.
And how will we show them that we're walking together?
Wang stopped and, still holding Rose's hand, kneeled as though proposing to her.
First, the GDS will walk up to Primavera. Until now, we've only considered the lifestyles of our Chinese brethren. But we'll change that way of thinking. We'll also consider the lifestyles of Primavera's Japanese countrymen. I swear, that Chinatown will cooperate even more, so that the Japanese of City 23 can maintain a rich lifestyle.
Just like that, out of nowhere?
Thank you very much. We at Primavera also want to work hard to contribute to the lives of the Chinese.
Is that so? Madam Rose, you truly are magnificent.
And then he sings a tune.
If you can show that you're walking alongside us in a visible way, you'll win over the Council of Elders in no time.
In what sort of visible way?
By showing through your attitude that you're willing to resolve this problem with respect for us.
That's not... He keeps being really vague, and then she's like, okay, what do you mean? And then she just gets some vague nonsense in return, and then she goes, okay, what does that mean? Oh dear.
Attitude?
Yeah. You're being a bit roundabout. Let's have some details. You do love being direct, Richardson. This strange farce has continued so long that even Madame Rose is flustered. Let's get to the point. It sounds like the GDS wants either war or submission. What do you want us to do for the latter case?
You really do stick your knife straight to the core. If you aren't a bit more roundabout, you'll never be able to marry a girl. Girls just hate it when you go straight to the point with no foreplay. Oh, if you're already married, my apologies.
No, I'd like to ask the same question. Wang-san, I realize that you're aiming for either war or submission. However, neither of us wishes for war. Is there anything I'm misunderstanding?
You are correct. This is the same as the old tribute. If you display your respect, we'll give you even more in return. China and Japan have gotten along well that way for years, haven't they?
And what is this respect to which you refer?
Little May, if you will. I'd rather it not come from my lips.
You've got guts saying that out loud. Major gave a short laugh. Understood. Well, then I shall name the Council of Elders' requests. There are two. First, Primavera will bring its unjustly inflated labor wages back to the level they were at before last year. That's You do realize that's impossible at this point, right? Like, there's going to be riots. Even more riots. Like... Okay, moving on.
That's the main cause for all the trouble in Chinatown. We would like that fixed immediately.
And the second? Second, we want you to immediately transfer 30% of City 23's special offers windows to us, without compensation, as a sign of friendship. The ones you declined? Not even worth considering. Sneering, Richard made a dramatic gesture like one. Richard was agitated, and even though he was usually calm and composed, and it started reacting to this provocation. At the sight of Richard's behavior, Meng's expression grew even more flippant.
Richard, calm down. There's no need to let them sweep you into their pace.
Richard took a sip of water to cool his burning body. Rose was starting to catch on. This was probably the technique Wang used to negotiate. He toyed with his opponent, making them lose the ability to judge rationally, and moving the discussion in a direction favorable to him. This was completely different from Meiju, who, though he was clever and ruthless, would face his opponents dead on. Head on. Not dead on, head on. They mustn't step into the other side's ring. The gentleness disappeared from Rose's face. It took a huge amount of money to buy the special offers windows. All of that was obtained thanks to the suffering our countrymen bore. We cannot hand it over for free.
After all, if we dealt with each other using money, the Japanese would just start calling it trade again, right? If this was trade we were talking about, China wouldn't ever have given Japan so much in gifts. After all, we had absolutely no interest in gifts of rubbish given by a country of Eastern barbarians.
In that case, you must have no interest in the rubbish we call the City 23 special offers windows, yes?
She got you there.
Ah, you got me, you got me. This time around, you want to tribute with respect.
You aren't averse to showing our respect. Still, handing over the special offers windows without compensation. Even if I allow it, my countrymen will not. Also, you used the old Chinese system of tribute as an analogy, but if that's really the case, then even if we did hand over the special offers windows, what gift would you give us in return?
We promise that the comfortable lives of the city folk will continue unabated.
Well, they won't, because their wages will be chopped in half. And that's a threat, yeah.
That's no different from a simple threat.
Whoa, hold on there. Time out. Don't stare at me with such a scary look on your face. I'm just a messenger. I'd rather you didn't glare at me like that.
As Rose's tone grew harder, Wang suddenly started joking around to smooth things over. Push forward when they pull back when they push forward. Surely, this was Wang's technique of fighting at a fixed distance. Without letting her guard down in the slightest, Rose quietly looked into Wang's eyes. There it is. He acts like he's joking around, but his eyes aren't laughing in the slightest.
The last war, on the surface at least, ended with a humane ceasefire out of consideration for the horror of the Japanese people because of the Great Disaster. But, let me be blunt. Japan lost the war, yes. If you feel differently, shall we start it up again right now? Here, in Tokyo? You Japanese lost the war. Japan's the only place in the world that worms its way out by calling it a ceasefire. The newspapers around the world announced that Japan lost the war.
I have no objections on that point. Japan was defeated in the war and is being governed by occupying forces. It's a fact.
Do you really understand? Do you understand what it means to lose a war?
From ancient times until the mid-20th century, war was, at its essence, nothing more than kill or be killed. In exchange for not killing them, you stole everything defeated nations. You formed unequal treaties, turned countries into colonies, and treated the people like livestock. That was common sense in the kill or be killed world of war. People living in the 21st century only want to believe that the world's more intellectual than that. However, it mustn't be forgotten that no World Human Rights Declaration stating that humanity had abandoned colonialism was made until a short half-century ago. Furthermore, it isn't true that all the world's countries supported the 1960 Declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and peoples. It's probably worth remembering that several major Allied countries who saved the world from the evil Axis did not vote in favor of this resolution. Japan did it too, didn't they? Japanization and so on. If that's one of the rights of the victor state, then it should have been fine for us to do it to Japan too, yes? We could have changed all aspects of your lifestyle to be Chinese. We could have made Chinese the only official language, punishing all those who talked in Japanese. We could have forced you to worship the same things we did. But we didn't do all of that. Do you know why?
I don't.
Because of love. Brotherly love, or fellow bearers of a culture that extends back to the Yellow River civilization. We didn't give the Japanese culture. They would still be primitives living in pits. However, our ancestors gave you culture, and made it so that you could live a cultural lifestyle as humans. Culturally, we are like a father and a big brother to you. That is something we take pride in. And so, we decided to forgive our small little brother with love during his rebellious stage. Otherwise, why on earth would we propose an unconditional ceasefire? Why didn't the Chinese military take advantage of the disaster and carry out plans for a landing on the Japanese mainland? Because of love. What could have caused this but love? You've received our love free of charge, without even thanking us. You ought to stop and think about how much of your current lives are supported by our love and mercy. Honored brother, if you threatened them so much, even the Japanese would be stuck cowering in fear. Oh, was I threatening them? Not like I ever meant to. Sorry for scaring you. Wang stuck out his tongue and laughed. Even though his face was playful, his eyes still weren't smiling. So, about that, what'll you do? These conditions of respect the GDS is offering. Will you accept them, or not?
I cannot give you an immediate answer.
I guess you do need time after all. In that case, shall we call it a day for now?
One sec.
At that exact moment, the hour and minute hands of the clocks reached their peak, and the countless clocks began their magnificent, jumbled chorus. I believe there is nothing more valuable and precious than my own time. So, that will be my going away gift to you for tonight's meal. For a time, I would like you to consider how much benevolence lies behind your current lifestyles. If you do, I'm sure that feelings of gratitude will naturally rise inside you. If those feelings turn to respect, then I think we can get along. Have you no shame? As Richard was about to lash back, Rose quickly stopped him.
And that's the GDS's position, is it?
Yep.
In that case, once we've assembled our position over the next few days, we'll give you our answer.
Sure, got it. We'll be waiting.
Rose and Richard rose from their seats.
Regardless of what your answer is, everything that occurs as a result is your responsibility. I bear no responsibility. Please don't forget that, okay?
This dude sucks. I hate him.
Of course. I always bear all of the responsibility when I make my decisions. It's unlike people like you, who can't take responsibility for anything.
Oh, so you can talk pretty tough.
Pretty cool.
Let's go, Richard-kun. Good job hanging in there.
Yeah, at least he didn't betray us, you're right. Truly unpleasant. The two of them left at a swift pace. I feel bad for Major having to sit in on that. Wang watched them go, smiling, and as soon as their backs were out of sight, his expression changed. It returned to the cold grin of a calculating man.
You were right, little May. At first I thought Madame Rose was just a figurehead. I assumed Richard was the de facto leader.
That was incorrect, wasn't it?
Yep. My enemy is Madame Rose. Richard has a shorter temper than I thought. He'll be easy to deal with. If you want to leave someone in power, it's him. Without the charisma supplied by Rose, the short-tempered Richard cannot hold Primavera together. Primavera will collapse and disappear without us having to fight.
Honored brother, just now, you mentioned leaving him in power.
Let's erase Madame Rose.
However, if we leave the short-tempered Richard in power, isn't it possible he'll launch into a battle for revenge without regards for appearances?
There won't be a battle for revenge. We'll just have her disappear from a sudden, unfortunate disease or accident. Let's use Hotarubi.
Hotarubi. The emphasis on a different part of the word. You don't regret losing her? If she stays undercover, there should be more uses for her.
The Japanese are a people that tends to grow arrogant. Once they mistakenly think they're on the same level as you, it doesn't take long for them to get a puffed head. Primavera's value ended when they defeated Caleb for us. It's time we close the curtain on City 23's Mafia games, don't you think?
Though, personally, I doubt Primavera will prove to be such an easy foe. No. That's surely my inexperience talking. I look forward to seeing your work, honored brother.
Very well. I'll show you the new era of warfare.
Let's have a look at whether his so-called new era of warfare works on Primavera. Yeah. Oh, that scene was almost an hour and a half. Thank you for the save reminder. Also, it was great. Very tense. Oh boy. Yeah, Major's gonna be in an interesting spot now where he doesn't seem to be on board with Wong at all. like to the point where it seems to struggle to actually pretend like he is. Like just now, that was very clearly like a, you know what? I'll let you dig your own grave kind of statement. He, he he definitely seems more on Primavera's side. And I get why, because for all the posturing, well, I mean, Meiji the whole time has been like, I need to improve conditions for my people, right? Meanwhile, the council of elders is like, I need to line my pockets. So yeah, it's easy to pick who to side with here for him, for Meiju. But he also has to like pretend to be polite and stuff, and he seems to be struggling a little bit with that. It's subtle, but there's some jabs here and there. And I get it, I understand. Yeah, you're right, it is a tightrope. And yeah, any overt move he makes is potentially used against him, so. You're right, he did say, like, he basically said goodbye to Rose in a way that implied that they would never see each other again. Like, he thought, he seemed to think that he was going to get killed, but he's still around. So that's interesting. I'm glad he is. I imagine that his link to Primavera is part of what makes him useful to Wong, especially. So maybe that's part of why he's still around. What was the reason that the warehouse manager is still on board? I forget. Even though that was like, what, 2 weeks ago? Yeah. So like just because he's useful then? I mean, Meiju's nothing if not useful. I mean, he's like actually actively trying to help, so. Sorry. Yeah, I agree. I'm pretty sure that that's the reason. That he's still kicking. Oh boy. Okay. I guess next. I, I really regret going with the really raspy sort of like this kind of voice for one, because I can't. It hurts. I shouldn't have done that. I regretted it instantly, and I felt like I had to stick with it. He's always like this. On a good day, on a bad day, Wayne sounds. He sounds kind of like this. I can't do it. But ideally, he sounds a bit like, you know, like he's trying to sound gruff because he thinks it sounds cool, even though, like it doesn't. And he's just kind of pathetic, but like that's just his character, you know. Like he's Spike from Cowboy Bebop. Wayne could never. He would desperately want to be like that, but he could never. No way. It'd be so funny if Old Man Wayne still sounds like that, though. Yeah, you're right. Leo is basically Spike. Yeah. Just with a wackier outfit. Yeah, yeah. That's a good accurate assessment, I think. Also the whole I don't need no help from nobody kind of vibe. So if I recall correctly, Faye gets better about it, and Wayne doesn't really seem to. Genuinely, Wayne is more like a dog, more like a cat than a dog. He wants to be like a dog and a wolf and a whatever the hell. So he's definitely more like a cat. A moody one, you know, that doesn't want to... That doesn't let you pet it. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Bam. Very little dog-like things about him. He's... okay, yeah. Chihuahua, for sure, you're right. Yeah. Anyway, he's back here to praise the kids again, for some reason. I thought he did that last time, but... To be fair, they deserve more praise, so, you know. Oh god, no. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't bring that into this world. Please, no. Look at this mess, it doesn't even fit. It's not even- why are these buttons up here? I'm pointing at it with my cursor, but you can't see, but why are the buttons up there? Cat, please don't do this. Don't do this. You want to see them in little Wayne get-ups? No. All they have to do is like close their eyes and walk backwards into a secondhand store and just put on anything that they touch on the way. And then you come out looking like a trash bag. It's a look, sure. Not a good one, but... I mean, look at him. He's wearing... I pointed this out so many times, but he's wearing 2 scarves and a choker over a suit. And the vest is buttoned up at the chest, not at like the midsection. It's like super high up, and then at the bottom it's open. None of it fits either. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the little rat tail hair either. Fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi bullshit. And he sort of like wrapped it around him like it's another scarf too. It's sort of like, you know, tossed around. The man looks silly, I'm sorry. Anyway. Let's let him talk. So we don't have to look at him anymore. Good work on this latest investigation, wandering dogs. Thank you very much. We've discovered that the mastermind you spotted was a core member of the GDS, Wang Yuanhong. Going forward, higher-ups will analyze what exactly they were planning. You say that, but I think it was deliberate. Like, I don't think they designed him to look cool or smooth or sleek or anything like that. I think they designed this look to signify trying too hard. And they succeeded. So in that sense, it's a great design.
It's pretty obvious they were scheming to make some pocket money again, using Madame Rose's soy sauce. Not sure what sort of big shot he is, but that's one cheap bastard. Seriously, what a dirty VIP.
you're right. If you did see someone wearing this walking down the street, I would personally also be like, I don't know, like, I would instantly respect that person for just having the guts, you know, to pull that off. It is impressive in a way.
Would such a big core member really do something so cheap against us just to earn some pocket money? We just assume that. We'll waste the trump card we've worked so hard for. What does this incident mean? And how can we use it during negotiations? We'd better think carefully about that.
Yeah, Zell's definitely right. We fools shouldn't jump to conclusions.
And anyway, it's the bosses and higher-ups who will have to examine you. We're the wandering dogs. Our job's just to sniff out prey and info and bring it back.
I heard you were unwell, but you seem to be in high spirits now. I'm relieved.
Thanks for your concern. Actually, it's pretty embarrassing to have one of the bosses hear about that.
Zell was fully back in high spirits. That dark atmosphere from before was completely gone. Zell had explained that she was just feeling bad because of a cold, and the other three had nodded. Of course, none of the three believed that she'd had a cold. They thought her memory had probably come back, making her remember something painful. But despite this, Zell had come back here. And she was acting like nothing had happened, trying to regain her everyday life. So the other three decided to also act as though nothing had happened.
If Zell's in high spirits, we're incredibly strong.
Thanks to your recent cold, we now know full well how much we relied on you.
If you're relying on me so much, I'm not sure if I'm happy or embarrassed. The four of us together are the wandering dogs. If even one of us is gone, there's no point.
Now we're talking tough. You guys are much cooler than someone who acts the lone wolf like me. You're so right, Wayne. You're so right. You're so right. Good job. You know what that is growth? That is character growth. I love it. I love that for you. Good job.
He said we're cool. Sweet.
Well, well. I can feel that fortune of ours rising.
Guess we do really need our goddess of good fortune to smile. We'll keep doing better and better.
This isn't exactly a getting well celebration for Zell, but I've brought you some good news today. Well, as usual, Richard Sounds agreed to a fervent request of Zell's.
How'd you like them apples? We're in business again.
Achievements must be rewarded. Zell has worked hard on your behalf. As a result, in appreciation for all you've done so far, the 4 members of the Wandering Dogs have been invited to participate in this month's pasta gathering. Yo, they're still doing the pasta gathering. That's great. Whoa! The 3 of them yelled, then swayed as they considered those words. Wait, they're not like the old-timey pasta gatherings, are they? They mentioned this, that it's like a more serious deal now. And one that everybody knows about, apparently. It's not like them getting together and eating pasta for funsies.
The pasta gathering? I'm sure you've all heard at least the name before. That's right. We're talking about that pasta gathering, the one hosted by Madame Rose. We get to eat Madame Rose's homemade pasta?
That's not it, fool. It's practically a meeting of Primavera's board of directors, where Madame Rose, the Grand Boss, the Consigliere, and the bosses of all the crews participate.
So Meryl-san and Stella-san will be there too? Yeah! That's just too awesomely awe-inspiring. I can't believe it.
It's a chance to get all the other bosses to learn our names.
In other words, it's a huge chance for advancement.
Are we finally gonna make it big? Oh, come on, that's crazy. It's just a meeting with a meal. You're getting ahead of yourselves. But listen to this. It might not end as a mere dream.
I spoke with Zell about this, so I might as well tell you all now. You probably know that the Consigliere and I are preparing a personal bodyguard team for the matter. As an underworld boss, Madame Rose could find as many grim-faced, sunglasses-wearing guards as she wanted. However, Primavera was also an organization for the support of its countrymen. This image is so funny, I don't know why. She's just casually smiling with some goons in the background. It'd be pointless if the charitable woman who went around promoting mutual aid of fellow countrymen had to do it with a squad of creepy old men as guards. Death POV. So, finding some young, not grim-faced guards around Rose's own age was an urgent matter. The madam is a woman. A group of all-male guards couldn't be with her all the time. In addition, such a team would need the sharp nose and fangs of guards, and would also need to understand each other and move with rapid coordination. As the three of them fidgeted, wondering, doesn't that sound a lot like us? Zell nodded energetically.
Yep, he's actually talking about us.
Wandering dogs satisfy all those conditions. You might say this pasta gathering will serve as your debut and interview as well. You can just act like you always do, is what I'd like to say, but don't do anything crude. You have to be elegant, so you don't tarnish Madame Rose's reputation. If we make a bad show, it'll shame Wayne-san. So, wandering dogs, here's your next mission. Between now and the pasta gathering, excuse me, you've got to learn how to behave in an elegant manner. And are they all getting a makeover? to match what Wayne thinks is elegant? Please say no. Please say no.
Yeah. The thing I'm worst at?
Even pasta has rules and manners as to how you eat it. If you slurp it up, the other bosses will laugh at you.
You're kidding me. There are rules for eating things?
Don't be afraid, wandering dogs. Do you want to let this chance slip by? If they don't think we're a match for Madame Rose, we'll never move upwards. I'll do it.
And there you go. Oliver's ready to do it. Charles and Nina, do you want to be left behind? Just kidding. Of course an alley rat's just itching for a chance. If learning manners means we get to eat infinite seconds, I'm willing to put up with it.
If we're decided, let the training begin. Zell, we need your guidance.
I saw this coming, so I bought a bunch of books on table manners beforehand. It's a bit sudden, but the pasta gathering is in 3 days. Come on, let's give it our all.
I don't want them to dress like Wayne. I really don't. The three of them kneeled and listened to Zell's lecture on manners. Wayne had quietly left so as not to disturb them, smiling faintly at their youthfulness. Of course, the three of them hadn't noticed Wayne leaving. Their youthful eyes were glowing with this opportunity, and they burned with a passionate fire. The center of all their gazes was Zell. Her eyes also seemed to be burning. However, yeah, I was just thinking that. It's likely no one noticed the faint shadow deep inside those eyes. Zell had fiercely made a case for the wandering dogs participating in the pasta gathering. However, this pasta gathering was an opportunity for Hotarubi as well. Hotarubi. Said it wrong again. Even the noise of Chinatown didn't extend to the back alleys. In a dimly lit, disorganized room that smelled like dust, several GDS underlings were gambling. The door opened, and two young women came in. Who's that? Oh, it's you, Shalan. I see you're as tiny as ever. As Shaolin passed the man, she kicked him in the shin. The other men saw this and guffawed. Hey, Shaolin's companion here is a hottie. Hey, is that your friend? Come on, introduce us. When the man made to hug her shoulder with an overly familiar gesture, his arm was twisted around and pinned behind his back. Ow, 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 ow. What the hell are you doing? After struggling and breaking free, the man tried to tackle the woman. Enough. Don't you know who that woman is? Huh? She's not a whore to get called here? That girl is Hotarubi. Hotarubi. Goddamn. I hope that doesn't stick, because then I'll just say it incorrectly every single time. The men's eyes bulged, and they jumped back from Zell. Zell lowered her hood, exposing her face. The appearance of her slender body shouldn't have been threatening enough to make those men jump back. We've been waiting for you. Please, this way. The two girls followed the boss and disappeared into the back of the building. The men were still watching their backs, stunned. This was Hotarubi, the legendary professional killer whispered about in the Chinese underworld. To think that she was such a slender girl who looked like she might be blown away by the wind. After remaining speechless for a while, the men started recounting the many terrible rumors surrounding Hotaru. However, when a professional killer becomes legendary, it means they've just about hit their expiry date. Even this sad job she did in exchange for her father's safety probably wouldn't continue on for long. In the back were several shelves packed with small jars. Those jars were filled with strangely colored powders, liquids, and pastes. However, each one of those were secret medicines which could have various effects on the human body, but which left no trace of their existence. I was told to give you this poison. It's a very valuable poison. I know of none other this magnificent. It is tasteless and odorless. It's impossible for anyone to notice when being served it. Administering a very small quantity will cause a heart attack and death a week later. It was a fearsome, ultimate poison born from ancient wisdom. It brought death to the victim without them even realizing they had been poisoned. It is said to have been created by a genius chemist of some dynasty amidst thousands of years of history. However, the emperor of that time grew fearful of this too perfect poison, so he buried away both the chemist and the instructions for how to make it. However, several samples that had already been created were passed down to many influential men in history, and it was whispered that this was one of those extremely rare samples. The man handed over a small pouch. Zell wordlessly took it and put it in her pocket. The target is Primavera's madam, Rose Haibara. Your master desires for you to complete this task within the month.
That's not enough time. It's too short to wait for a chance to approach Madame Rose during a meal. Please let me have at least 3 months. I'll finish my task without fail.
No. Your master desires for you to complete this task within the month. I'm sorry, and you cannot refuse. Just as it's always been.
No way.
We've invested a lot so that you could gain the trust of Primavera's inner circle. Isn't it about time that you gave us a return on our investment? Everything, from the very beginning, had followed along with the scenario the GDS had thought up. Meiju had succeeded in making connections with Rose, and was in the process of building a friendly relationship between the two families. However, some in the Council of Elders suspected that Meiju, a member of the previous leader's faction, would conspire with Rose and raise the banner of revolution. So, they had decided to send Hotarubi, their trump card, into Primavera. They hoped that she would observe the relationship between Primavera and Meiju, investigate internal matters, and, if necessary, become an assassin. To do that, she would have to work her way into Primavera's inner circle. The shortest road to that would be to earn credit and gain the trust of the higher-ups. In particular, it would be effective if she could visibly protect Madame Rose from assassins. That sudden attack in Chiba was actually the work of the GDS. They hired Japanese hitmen and had them attack so no one would know it was the GDS. Of course, the attack was always supposed to end in failure. They were fake assassins, arranged simply for the purpose of earning Hotarubi credit. Xiaolong had told Zell about the attack right before it happened. In that instant, her memory had returned. Wait, so she legit didn't remember? How? How? I thought she was just really good at acting. Matters had proceeded as planned, and Hotarubi, alias Zell, had succeeded in earning a lot of trust from Wayne, Richard, and the rest. It was probably just a matter of time before the wandering dogs, Zell included, were chosen to be Madame Rose's team of personal guards. When that happened, Rose's life and death would always be at the GDS's fingertips. If you care for your father's safety, you will do good work. If you stumble, if something happens that lets them know the GDS was behind this, you'll probably never see your father again.
I understand. I'll do it. I'll assassinate Madame Rose.
And with that, it is 10 p.m. and a beautiful time for a cliffhanger. And a very good time to save. That was beautiful timing. The scene ends right when it's quitting time. A huge episode. A lot happened. I'm kind of amazed that, well, okay, they do have like a whole building full of all kinds of poison, so maybe they have like a memory for getting poison, you know? It might be something like that. So, yeah, I'm sure they would have had the means to mess with her head at least a little. Jeez, yeah. I also wonder what kind of poison makes you forget. I also wonder what kind of poison would have been invented like thousands of years ago. Then distributed to people, and it's still usable in modern day. That's kind of wild. Like, most things expire, and that includes poison, usually. Because back then it would have been made from like natural things, and that shit expires, so... Imagine that's like... That's a good point. That is a good point. I mean, it could be something like that, which if it's like made from inorganic stuff, then different matter, you know? Imagine though if it was like herbal and it does expire and it doesn't fucking do anything anymore, but they don't know because they stopped like, oh, it's a rare poison, it's very expensive, we can't just test it willy-nilly. That'd be so funny. But yeah, I don't know how, I have no idea how Zelle's gonna get out of this, but oof, I hope she does. Cause yeah, I don't know what the plan here was. Like, yeah, what if Zelle's like, I don't know who this girl is, what the fuck? I have no idea. At the same time, what if it's like, well, no, I guess it's possible that she wouldn't have known, like she wouldn't have remembered, and the warning was, there's assassins on the way, right? So it wasn't necessary at that point for her to recover a memory. And they could have just told her later, I guess, and be like, yo, this is your dad, and we're threatening him, or do what we want or else. Like, she doesn't necessarily need the memory back, I guess. I don't. I don't know. It's an the plan is so intricate that I can't pronounce the word intricate anymore. Yep. So there's that. Yes, I think that's a sign. It's a sign that I need to call it quits for the day. Unless I forget how to pronounce other words. So, yeah. Alright, what you described to me, just, that's like my personal form of hell. But to all the Overwatch players, I hope you have fun and don't lose all your games. Good luck out there. I tried it, it's not for me. It's not for me. But I'm not big on shooters anyway. But yeah. Good luck. I hope you don't lose all of it. Yeah, that sounds about right. From what I've heard. Alright, yeah. Well, good luck with all the video games out there. I will be back next week with more Rose Guns Days. Because of course, I will work on getting those YouTube uploads up and up. And up and up and up. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for lurking, watching the pod once it goes up, being in the chat. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you're just describing nightmare scenarios. Like, is this a new thing? Stop. I don't want AI to do that for me. It's gonna ruin it. Maybe we should burn all the technologists. I mean, throw them into the ocean. I mean, lock them up I mean, give them a stern talking to, you know? You know? Now you're talking. I don't want to add to that. I'm gonna have to. Well, not in general. But yeah, AI is a useful tool for certain things, I'm sure. But not it shouldn't be used for creative stuff. Let me just put it that way. Anyway. Let me just fire up some music actually before we go. Here we go. Yep. See you next week. We'll be back with more Rose Guns Days, and hopefully no assassinations. Have a good day, week, year, month, season. Cause spring's, it's springing right now. And I will see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. And, it is close to summer, actually. March was a while ago. Yeah. Have a good summer. Preemptively, as well. See you again next time. Bye-bye.